Good morning, students. Welcome to 12th standard physics class. Today topic is energy and power in electrical circuits, unit 2. Okay, students, let us go to the lesson. When a battery is connected between the ends of a conductor, a current is established. The battery is transferring energy to the device which is connected in the circuit. Consider a circuit in which a battery of voltage V is connected to the resistor. Assume that a positive charge of dq moves from point A to B through the battery and moves from point C to D through the resistor and back to point A. When the charge moves from point A to B, it gains potential energy du is equal to V dot dq, and the chemical potential energy of the battery decreases by the same amount. When the charge dq passes through resistor, it loses the potential energy du is equal to V dot dq due to collision with atoms in the resistor and again reaches the point A. This process occurs continuously till the battery is connected in the circuit. The charge loses its electrical potential. Energy in the resistor can be calculated. The electrical power P is the rate at which the electrical potential energy is delivered. So P is equal to du by dt is equal to V by dt into V dot dq is equal to Vi. So since the electric current I is equal to dq by dt. Okay. So the equation can be written as P is equal to Vi. So this expression gives the power delivered by the battery to any electrical system where I is the current passing through it and V is the potential difference across it. The SI unit of electric power is watt. Commercially, the electrical bulbs used in houses come with the power and voltage rating of to 220 volt, 30 watt to 220 volt, 60 watts to 220 volt. This voltage rating refers AC RMS voltages. For a given bulb, if the voltage drop across the bulb is greater than voltage rating, the bulb will fuse. Using Ohm's law, power delivered to the resistance R is expressed in other forms. P is equal to Vi. We know very well. P is equal to IV is equal to I into IR is equal to V value IR is equal to I squared R. So P is equal to IV is equal to V by R into V. So V squared by R. The total energy used by any device is obtained by multiplying the power and duration of the time when it's on. If the power is in watts and the time is in seconds, the energy will be in joules. In practice, electrical energy is measured in kilowatt hour. 1 kilowatt hour is known as 1 unit of electrical energy. The total energy used by any device is obtained by multiplying the power and the duration of the time it's on. E is equal to P ostrich T. The SI unit of electrical energy is equal to watt second is equal to joule. That is equal to joule. Watt second is equal to joule. The next topic is electric cells and batteries. An electric cell converts chemical energy into electrical energy to produce electricity. Simple electric cell or voltaic cell. Simple electric cell contains glass container. It contains two electrodes immersed in an electrolyte. The immersed liquid means dilute sulfuric acid. Several electric cells connected together form a battery, copper, zinc. When a cell or battery is connected to a circuit, electrons flow from the negative terminal to the positive terminal through the circuit. Positive charge is red color charge. Then negative, yellow is negative charge. By using chemical reactions, A battery produces potential difference across its terminals. This potential difference provides the energy to move the electrons through the circuit. If we connect copper and zinc rod in a lemon also, it acts as an electric cell. The citric acid in the lemon acts as an electrolyte. The potential can be measured using a multimeter. Next, series combination of cells are cells in series. Several cells can be connected to form a battery. In series connection, the negative terminal of one cell is connected to the positive terminal of the second cell. The negative terminal of second cell is connected to the positive terminal of the third cell, and so on. The free positive terminal of the first cell and the free negative terminal of the last cell become a terminal of the battery. Suppose n cell each of EMF psi volts and internal resistance R ohms are connected in series with an external resistance R. The total EMF of the battery is N psi. The total resistance in the circuit NR plus R. By Ohm's law, the current in the circuit is I is equal to total EMF by total resistance. So, N psi by NR plus R. If R very less than capital R, then I is equal to N psi by capital R. So, where I1 is the current due to single cell. So, I1 is equal to psi by capital R. Thus, if R is negligible, when compared to capital R, the current supplied by the battery is N times that supplied by the single cell. Here, if R, small r, very less than capital R, so I is equal to N psi by NR. Okay. Here, thus the series connection of cells is advantageous only when the effective internal resistance of the cell is negligibly all compared with capital R. That's all. Next, cells in parallel. In parallel connection, all the positive terminals of the cells are connected to one point of the negative terminal to second point. These 2 points form the positive and negative terminal of the battery. Let n cells be connected in parallel between the points A and B, and a resistance R is connected between the points A and B. Let psi be the EMF and R the internal resistance of the each cell. The equivalent internal resistance of the battery is 1 by R equivalent. Internal is equal to 1 by R plus 1 by R plus up to 1 by R n terms is equal to up to n by R. So, R equivalent internal resistance is equal to R by n, and the total resistance in the circuit is equal to capital R plus small r by n. The total EMF is the potential difference between the points A and B, which is equal to psi. The current in the circuit is given by I is equal to psi by small r by n plus capital R. This equation implies that current due to the whole battery is the same as the due to single cell. Hence, it's advantageous to connect cells in parallel when the external resistance is very small compared to the internal resistance of the cell. That's all. The next, types of Kirchhoff's law. Ohm's law is useful only for simple circuits. For more complex circuits, Kirchhoff's rules can be used to find current and voltage. There are two types. First one, KVL, Kirchhoff voltage law. Second, KCL, Kirchhoff current law. The first law, Kirchhoff first rule, current rule or junction rule. It states that the algebraic sum of the current at any junction of a circuit is zero. It is statement of conservation of electric charges. Other Kirchhoff's current law states that the algebraic sum of the currents from all the branches at the junction is zero, or the sum of incoming current is exactly equal to the sum of going to current at the junction of an electrical network. All charges that enter a given junction in a circuit must leave the junction since charge cannot build up or disappear at a junction. Current entering the junction is taken as positive and current leaving the junction is taken as negative. Of current rule based on a law of conservation of charge. So consider network given below: I1, I2, I3, I4. Here I1, I2, I3 incoming current is equal to I4, I5 outgoing current. So I1 plus I2 plus I3 minus I4 minus I5 is equal to 0. Here I1 plus I2 plus I3 is equal to I4 plus I5. That's all. The next, Kirchhoff's second rule, voltage rule or loop rule. It states that in a closed circuit, the algebraic sum of the product of the current and resistance of each part of the circuit is equal to the total EMF included in the circuit. This rule follows from the law of conservation of energy for an isolated system. The energy supplied by the EMF forces is equal to the sum of the energy delivered to all resistors. The product of current and resistance taken as positive when the direction of current is followed. Suppose if the direction of current is opposite to the direction of loop, then product of current and voltage across the resistor is negative. The EMF considered positive when proceeding from negative to the positive terminal of the cell. Okay. Kirchhoff voltage rule has to be applied only when all currents in the circuit. So, steady state condition. That's all. The next topic is Wheatstone bridge. An important application of Kirchhoff's rule is the Wheatstone bridge. It is used to compare resistance and also helps in determining the unknown resistance in electrical network. The bridge consists of four resistors P, Q, R and S connected as shown in the figure. A galvanometer G is connected between the points B and D. The battery is connected between the points A and C. The current through the galvanometer is Ig. Its resistance is G. Applying Kirchhoff's current rule to junction B. I1 minus Ig minus I3 is equal to 0. Applying Kirchhoff's current rule to junction D. I2 plus Ig minus I4 is equal to 0. Next, applying Kirchhoff's voltage rule to loop A, B, D, A. A, B, D, A. I1P plus IGP plus minus I2R is equal to 0. Next, applying Kirchhoff's voltage rule to loop A, B, C, D, A. I1P plus I3Q minus I4S minus I2R is equal to 0. Okay. When the points B and D are at the same potential, the bridge is said to be balanced as there is no potential difference between B and D. No current flows through galvanometer. Substituting Ig is equal to 0 in equation, I1 is equal to I3, I2 is equal to I4, I1P is equal to I2R. The equation, P plus Q by P is equal to R plus S by R. So 1 plus Q by P is equal to 1 plus S by R. So Q by P is equal to S by R, P by Q is equal to R by S. This is the bridge balance conditions. Only under this condition, galvanometer shows null deflection. Suppose we know the values of two adjacent resistors Still, other two resistance can be compared. Three of the resistance are known. The value of unknown resistance can be determined. That's all. Next, meter bridge. The meter bridge is another form of Wheatstone bridge. It consists of a uniform magnetic wire AB of 1 meter length. This wire is stretched along a meter scale on a wooden board between two copper staves C and D. Between these two copper staves, another copper stave E is mounted in enclosed two gaps G1 and G2. An unknown resistance P is connected in G1 and the standard resistance Q is connected in G2. A jacky is connected to the terminal E on central copper stave through a galvanometer G and a high resistance. The exact position of jacky and the wire can be read on the scale. Jacky means touching wire like key. A Lakeland cell and a key are connected across the ends of the bridge wire. The position of the jacky and the wire is adjusted to that the galvanometer shows zero deflection. Let the point be J. The length AJ and JB of the bridge wire now replace the resistance R and S of the Wheatstone bridge. So to find the specific resistance of the material of the wire in the coil P, the radius R and length L of the wire is measured. The specific resistance or resistivity rho can be calculated using the relation resistance rho is equal to L by capital A. So rho is equal to resistance into area by length. If P is the unknown resistance, equation becomes rho is equal to P into pi r squared by L. The next topic is comparison of EMF of two cells with a potentiometer. To compare the EMF of two cells, the circuit connections are made in the figure. Potentiometer wire CD is connected to a battery BT and a key K in the series. This is primary circuit. The end C of the wire is connected to the terminal M of a DPDT. The double pole double throw. Switch and the other terminal N is connected to a jacky through a galvanometer G and a high resistance HR. The cells whose EMF Psi1, Psi2 be compared are connected to the terminals M1, N1 and M2, N2. The positive terminals of BT, the battery, Psi1 and Psi2 should be connected to the same DPDT. Switch is pressed towards M1, N1 so that cell Psi1 is included in the secondary circuit and the balancing length L1 is found by adjusting the jacky for zero deflection. Jacky means so lift பண்ணக்கூடியது. Then the second cell Psi2 is included in the circuit and the balancing length L2 is determined. Let or be the resistance per unit length of the potentiometer wire and L be the current flowing through the wire. So we have Psi1 is equal to IRL1. Psi2 is equal to IR2. So dividing the equation, Psi1 by Psi2 is equal to L1 by L2. Here I by I cancelled. So by including the rheostat in the primary circuit, the experiment can be repeated several times by changing the current flowing through it. It is working of potentiometer. The next topic is heating effect of electric current and Joule's law. When current flows through a resistor, some of the electrical energy delivered to the resistor is converted into heat energy and is scattered. This heating moment is known as Joule's heating effect. The current produces thermal energy. Thermal energy may also be suitably used to produce electromotive force. Joule's law. Joule's law states that The heat developed in an electrical circuit due to the flow of current varies directly as the square of the current, the resistance of the circuit, and the time of flow. So, heat is directly proportional to square of the current. Next, resistance of the circuit R. Then time of flow T. Applications of Joule's heating law. Some of the home appliances that utilize the heating effect of current. In these applications, the heating elements are made up of nichrome, an alloy of nickel and chromium. Okay, for examples given, electric iron box, electric heater, electric toaster, like this. Examples are given to applications of Joule's heating effect. The next, thermoelectric effect. Conversion of temperature differences into electrical voltage and vice versa is known as thermoelectric effect. Next, Seebeck effect. Seebeck discovered that in a closed circuit consisting of two dissimilar metals, when the junctions are maintained at different temperatures, an EMF is developed. The current that flows due to the EMF developed is called thermoelectric current. The two dissimilar metals connected to form two junctions is known as thermocouple. This effect is called Seebeck effect. Next, Peltier effect. In 1834, Peltier discovered that when an electric current is passed through a circuit of a thermocouple, heat is evolved at one junction and absorbed at the other junction. This is known as Peltier effect. Next, Thomson effect. Thomson showed that if 2 points in a conductor are at different temperatures, the density of electrons at these points will differ, and as a result, the potential difference is created between these points. Thomson effect is also reversible. Thomson effect is two types: positive Thomson effect and negative Thomson effect. That's all for today's class. Okay, students. Today's homework. Students, I give some questions here from this lesson. Repeatedly watch the video and learn the lesson properly. Students, read and understand the questions and answers, and then write the answers 3 times in your classwork note. After writing, send me the answers. Thank you, students. Wish you all success. God bless you.